Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Our first story today comes from a quiet suburban street where one driver thought they'd found the perfect street sweeping loophole, until the homeowner they were freeloading off decided to fight back. How to outsmart a lazy neighbor, one trash bin at a time. Every other Thursday, like clockwork, a random Mazda SUV would show up and park in front of my house early in the morning. Not for 5 minutes, not for an hour, it'd sit there all day, windows up, engine off, like it had taken a permanent position on my curb. I only have one car, and I keep it in the garage, so that spot's almost always empty. At first, I assumed it was a regular visitor, a tutor, a nurse, someone who worked nearby and liked the spot. Then one week, I took my dog for a walk down a different route and saw the same Mazda outside a house a few streets over. The light bulb clicked. These were not visitors. The dates matched the street sweeping schedule. They were moving their car every other Thursday so the city could sweep their curb and keep their street clean while leaving mine untouched. In short, they were freeloading on my street cleaning rights. I stewed on it for a couple of days. Part of me wanted to confront them, knock on the door, ask how they could be so petty. But I'm not into early morning doorbell drama. Also, moral indignation is fun, but revenge that's cleverly harmless tastes better, so I hatched a little plan. Thursday morning, I got up earlier than usual. The sky was the gray of someone who hasn't had their coffee yet, and the dog was still half asleep. I rolled the trash and recycling bins out and lined them up along the curb in front of my house, spaced like they were being inspected by a geometry teacher. The bins are municipal property. If they're out by the curb, the sweepers must pass them by. I put the lids down with an almost ceremonial smack and went back inside to make coffee. Sure enough, the Mazda rolled down the block a few minutes later, did a very civil drive-by of my curb, and then did what I half expected, circled and parked in front of the neighbors 3 houses down. 2 people got out, a man and a woman, and walked toward their house. They didn't look like thieves. They looked like people who believed rules are suggestions. Now here's the delicious bit. I quietly slid into my own car, drove over, and parked my car directly in front of their house where their Mazda usually claimed its throne. I didn't block anyone in. I didn't shout. I didn't vandalize anything. I just occupied their preferred spot, closed my door, and went inside to sip my coffee as if nothing had happened. I watched from the window as they returned from wherever they'd gone. The man looked puzzled when he saw my car in their favorite spot. The woman did the classic 2-step, glare, the scan, then looked back like the world had tilted a degree to the left. The man tried to act casual and wandered over to talk to me. I opened the window and waved. "Morning," I said cheerfully. "You folks leave your car here every other Thursday for the street sweeper?" He stumbled a little. Well, yeah, and you figured the city would sweep my side instead? Interesting approach," I shrugged. "I like my curb clean too. Thought I'd make sure the sweeper had equal access." He tried to protest about convenience and prior arrangements and how this had always worked, and I just smiled and reminded him the bins had been out since dawn. The woman flounced off muttering about how petty people are, and the man gave me one last annoyed look before wandering back to his Mazda. When the sweeper finally showed up, it did its job cleanly, my curb included, and the Mazda was forced to sit patiently where it had planned to steal a clean patch for itself. The look on their faces that day was the point, inconvenience without humiliation. They wanted an easy advantage, they got a taste of it themselves. I rolled the bins in after the truck passed, and the dog and I took a celebratory lap. It felt small and perfectly proportionate. No damage done, no HOA complaints, just an elegant nudge at the idea that your convenience shouldn't come at the expense of someone else's. They stopped parking in front of my house after that. Maybe they found somewhere less minded, or maybe their conscience finally filed a complaint. Either way, every other Thursday's quiet now, and my curb gets swept like it's supposed to. And the bins sleep peacefully in the garage until trash day. Veterans of a small but satisfying victory. That's how you win without turning the block into a Cold War. People who think rules are suggestions hate running into someone who can read the legend on the city map. Now the sweep truck sings for your curb, not theirs. Migration season concluded. And our second story. A dozen eggs left in a hot trunk solved my neighbor kid problem. When I was first married many years ago, we rented an upstairs apartment from a widow. Very fair rent, and we both got along great with her. Her divorced daughter lived next door with 4 kids. I was a grade school teacher, and the 2 younger kids would invite me to swim. Small above-ground pool. But as the older kid, 11-year-old male, grew, he became a real smart butt. He and his friend would get PO'd when we parked in the small gravel lot by the house. We had no options at the time, but they wanted to play wiffle ball there, and only there. So a couple days in a row, I got tomatoed and egged and mud slung at my car. I finally had enough and bought a dozen eggs and left them in my trunk for a week or so. Got up in the middle of the night on one of those hot summer nights and delivered half a dozen to the 2 neighbors' cars, the ones whose kids were doing the mess on my car. Next morning, the parents were out trying to clean fried eggs off their cars. I sort of sauntered by and said, "Oh, wow, you guys got hit too? My car's been hit 4 times in the last few weeks." And that was the end of the kids screwing with my car. Only a teacher could plot something so methodical and educational. Let the lesson bake right into their hoods. They learned respect, and you got your piece back. That, "Oh wow, you guys got hit too" moment deserves slow applause. The delivery of someone who's seen both chaos and consequence. And our last story. Karen broke into my house through the back door and then called the cops on me. This happened last year, but I still double-check my back door every night because of it. I live in a pretty quiet suburb in Oregon. Nothing fancy, a modest single-family home, small front lawn, decent backyard, attached 2-car garage. I'd been grinding at work for a few years and finally decided I deserved a real break. I booked a 3-week vacation in Montana. Mountains, forest, terrible cell reception, perfect silence. I'm the paranoid type when it comes to my house. Before I left, I did the whole ritual. Triple-checked every lock, turned off the automatic garage door opener, walked through each room, and took a few quick photos just in case for insurance or police if anything ever went wrong. The place was locked down. 3 weeks later, I'm rolling back into my neighborhood feeling relaxed, sunburned, and smug about the fact that for once in my life, I actually took time off. That lasted about 30 seconds. As I pull up to my driveway, I notice faint tire tracks leading up to the garage. Nothing huge, but enough to make me think, that's odd. My garage door's closed, just like I left it, but there's something taped to my front door. I get out of the car, walk up the steps, and see it. A sheet of paper stuck to my front door with blue painter's tape. "Welcome, Airbnb guest. Please enjoy your stay. Karen." That was the first moment I thought I might have had a stroke on the drive home. I don't rent my house out. I've never rented my house out. I stand there for a full minute just looking between that note and my door like maybe the universe is pranking me. Then I put my key in the front lock and it doesn't turn. Wrong lock. On my own front door. That's when my brain switches from, weird to, okay, this is bad. I walk around the side of the house toward the backyard and immediately see where things went sideways. The back door is wrecked. The frame is splintered around the lock, the strike plate's bent, and there are clear pry marks in the wood like someone went at it with a crowbar. The deadbolt is hanging crooked. Someone quite literally forced their way into my house. I pull out my phone and call 911. I explain I've just returned from a 3-week trip. My back door looks like it lost a fight with a small battering ram, and I'm pretty sure someone's been living inside. The dispatcher tells me officers are on the way and advises me to wait outside if I can. Then, of course, I hear a noise inside. It's this dull, heavy thump followed by a familiar mechanical whirring. If you've ever owned a garage door opener, you know that sound. The opener motor kicking on, then the door rolling. I step through the broken back door and into my kitchen. The very first thing I notice is that nothing looks how I left it. There are grocery bags on the counter that aren't mine. There are women's shoes by the hallway. Some kind of kid's backpack is dropped near the sofa. In the bathroom, I catch a glimpse of a pink towel I don't own and a shampoo bottle sitting on the sink. I walk toward the interior door to the garage, put my hand on the knob, and open it. There's a blue pickup truck parked dead center in my garage. The overhead door is just finishing its closing cycle. The wall-mounted opener next to the door is lit. Someone re-enabled the opener I'd shut off. I'm standing there staring at this truck in my garage, trying to remember if I accidentally rented my house to a stranger while drunk, when she appears. She steps into view from the kitchen, hair in that expensive but somehow always looks angry blonde shade, leggings, a Live, Laugh, Love t-shirt, and my old house slippers on her feet. She's holding one of my mugs like she's lived here for months. She looks right at me with the full Karen energy and says in English that might as well have been a warning siren, "Can I help you?" I blink. "Yeah," I say, "you can explain why you're in my house." "Wrong," she says, "I rented it on Airbnb. I've been here for 2 weeks already." I look from her to the truck in my garage to the shredded back door behind me. "You broke in through the back door," I say. "I had to," she says, dead serious. "The front door lock was stupid and jammed. I couldn't close it properly. The owner is irresponsible, so I got a new lock. Put the bill on the owner. He's irresponsible." She delivers that last line like it's a script and she's been rehearsing. I'll never forget that exact phrase. "How did you get into the garage?" I ask. "I pressed the button from inside," she says, gesturing toward the garage wall. "I need safe parking for my truck." "Is your truck part of the rental package too?" I ask. "That's none of your business," she snaps. "Who even are you?" "I'm the owner of this house." Her face changes for about 1 second and then snaps back to indignant. "The host warned me you might show up," she says. "He said your ex sometimes pretends he owns the house." I don't even have an ex that fits that description. Before I can unpack whatever universe she lives in, she pulls out her phone and dials 911 right in front of me. "Hello, police? I need officers here right now," she says. "The owner just broke into my rental property. He's threatening me. I'm very scared." I hear her story morph as she talks. First, I broke into her rental, then I forced my way in, then I showed up without warning and scared her. She's rewriting reality in real time. A patrol car arrives about 10 minutes later. 2 officers get out. Before they can even introduce themselves, she runs towards them. "Officers, he broke into the Airbnb I've rented. I've been here 2 weeks. He scared me. He's unstable." They separate us like they're trained to do. One officer walks off with her, the other stays with me. I explain I've been gone for 3 weeks, show him my ID, the deed to the house, property tax records on my phone, even my airline tickets and work emails. I point out the back door, the changed front lock, and the welcome note. The second officer does a quick walkthrough. He comes back after looking at the back door, the garage, and the ruined lock, and his face basically says, "Oh, she's not just confused, she's busy." I can still hear Karen giving her side. "He just walked in. I didn't know who he was. The host said I could stay month to month. This neighborhood is unsafe. I have anxiety." The officer who checked the damage comes back and addresses her. "Ma'am," he says, "you told us the front lock didn't work properly, but your entry point is the back door and it's clearly been forced. The wood is splintered and there are tool marks. I had to get in somehow," she insists. "I paid. I needed a place to stay. He left the door locked." "That's kinda how houses work," the officer says dryly. "People lock them when they don't want strangers inside." She produces her lease. I use that word generously. It's a crookedly printed PDF in Comic Sans with Airbnb agreement final 5.pdf at the top. The address is not my address. It's not even my state. There's a host name that doesn't exist, no last name, no license number, no contact, nothing. Just a vague paid in cash line. Meanwhile, the other officer has quietly run the VIN on the blue pickup in my garage. He walks back over and shows something on his in-car computer to his partner. They exchange a look. "Ma'am," the first officer says, "this vehicle's registered in another state to someone else. Is that you?" "It's my boyfriend's truck," she says dismissively. "We share it." "Does he know you took it across state lines?" he asks. Silence. Then a defensive, "He's fine. He always overreacts. I just needed to get away." When the dust settled, the picture was something. Karen had found some fake or scam Airbnb-style listing online and decided it was her golden ticket to a cheap stay. She drove her boyfriend's truck without telling him to another state. She showed up at my house, saw the front door was locked like any normal person's, marched around back and literally pried open my back door. Once inside, she stayed for 2 weeks. She got annoyed that the front lock wasn't to her liking, so she had someone install a new one. She figured out how to re-enable my garage door opener and started parking in my garage for safety. At some point, she decided there might be a leak or something in the yard, so this is my favorite part. She called a plumbing company out. According to the invoice I later saw, she told the plumbers, "Put the bill on the owner. He's irresponsible." They dug a hole in my backyard for no reason. Just a big, pointless, ugly hole. And when I finally came home after 3 weeks away, she called the police on me for breaking into her rental. The aftermath was slow but satisfying. The officers took statements, photos of the damage, the broken door, the changed lock, my garage, the hole in the yard, everything. They contacted her boyfriend about the truck. Turns out this wasn't the first time she'd taken off for days or weeks during one of her episodes, but it was the first time she'd crossed state lines and moved into a stranger's house. He hadn't reported the truck stolen yet because he honestly thought she'd be back in a couple of days as usual. This time he filed a report. The DA ended up charging her with criminal trespass in the first degree, entering and remaining in a dwelling, burglary, breaking and entering, forcibly entering with intent to stay, criminal mischief for the property damage, doors, locks, yard, filing a false police report, telling 911 I broke into her rental, theft of a motor vehicle for taking the truck across state lines without consent. During the hearings, it also came out that she had a documented history of mental health issues and prior treatment. Her lawyer leaned hard into the unstable state, poor judgment, emotional crisis angle and pushed for probation only. The judge looked at the photos of my back door, the locksmith's invoice, the plumber's bill, and pictures of the random hole in my yard, the report about her calling 911 on me, and the fact that she'd essentially gone on an interstate joyride in someone else's truck and moved into a stranger's house and decided, correctly in my opinion, that this wasn't just a sad misunderstanding. In the end, she got 18 months in state prison with eligibility for early release, but not before 12 months served, 2 years of probation after that, mandatory psychiatric treatment as a condition of her release, and court-ordered restitution to pay for my back door, my new locks, part of the plumbing bill, and repairing the crater in my backyard. As they were escorting her out of the courtroom, she was still protesting that no one told her it wasn't really an Airbnb and that she paid for a stay, but at that point, nobody in that room was buying it anymore. So now every time I see another Karen versus Airbnb story online, I find myself checking my back door one extra time just in case someone else out there has decided that my house has the right energy for their next rental. The judge wasn't playing around. It felt less like a hearing and more like a real-life Judge Judy moment. Actions have consequences, ma'am. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.